Babies, my babies. All right. How are we, my babies? What's been going on? True story, or I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. Being consistent with this has not been. It's not easy. Has not been engaging. For I don't know if it's an ego thing or an arrogant thing, but it's just a lot of meaningless things are chosen over making a video daily. That's the best way I can explain it. I would rather the distraction. I'm not sure why. I have a strong feeling that the when I read what I want to kind of like make it, what I have to make a video of, it hits harder, maybe, or I look at it as corny, and then I go like, what am I doing? What have I been doing? But then I already did like 550 videos, so might as well just reach 1,000. So, without further ado, today's video is a professional is a psychopath in training. Yeah, it's fully true. A professional is a psychopath in training. And they'll briefly explain, like most of you watched, whoever watched my videos. I don't think anyone watches my videos. But the thought process is every single thing you do beyond education, social training, is always guided towards us not being emotional. No, the first thing that clicked in my mind is like, what is normal in our society is for somebody to be basically, people who lack emotion are not considered normal. Yet everything we do on our day-to-day life in order to engage with society is a form of suppression of our emotion. Because if you're being emotional, everyone's going to quote unquote see your feelings. And that's something that I don't know, I'm not going to reflect on we, I'm going to reflect on we as in me and myself. And throughout basically growing up, you're always being told to handle your emotions. And effectively, when you enter society, you start realizing why you're given that advice. Because people can't handle emotions properly. And specifically, when people can't handle their own emotions, what they do is they basically would not want to handle yours. Because at the very least, my emotions, I could get to understand what's going on. But others' emotions, like why would I fucking bother? And slowly, slowly, what happens is we are the more professional we are about what we do, the I want to say the more pro we're able to handle the emotions of people. But there are two parts of professionalism. There's the professionalism as in I am giving my job, giving my time to the work I'm doing, which ideally is like I'm gonna use like a plumber that came the other day, an electrician that came the other day to fix something here. And what happened is he walked in, he basically walked around the house, and he knew his shit. It's not like he didn't know his shit. But there was nothing about how he approached electricity that was kind of like, I wouldn't want to say engineering, but structured. So from my perspective, he lacked professionalism. Now he engaged with me instantly as if I'm his best friend, and he mentioned a couple of stories about bad actors in his life. And I think all of us do that, either consciously or subconsciously, to get the sale. But if he was more professional, then ultimately he would be more focused on the job. But that would probably mean he's alienated from 70% of the market or 80% of the market, because a lot more people want familiarity to work with. But familiarity doesn't necessarily mean you give up the what is it, the weight of the work, your pride in your work, your focus. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for, dude? It has something to do with pride when it comes to your work. But the idea behind it is you can still give your work. In Arabic, it's called imi, and let's value. No, wait. Yeah, give your work its own weight. Let's use that because that's basically like it's technically valuing, but it's not. Word value is not the word in English. There's another word for it. But so you can still take pride of your work and be able to like be familiar with your client, but kind of separate your relationship with the client and be able to create a separation for the client between your relationship with him or her and your relationship with the work itself. Because I think that distinction matters more to the client, or at the very least matters more to the relationship, because the client not feeling at ease with how you are interacting with the work would probably would probably cause a lot more tension down the line because they're lacking the understanding that comes with it or the trust that you understand what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I'm sure we see that all the time when people kind of like do jobs that we're not really comfortable with, or just like uh, I've had this many times because I've worked with a lot of people where please just take your money, finish, let me just like see what happens, and hopefully the next hire would be a better experience. But not the professionalism that I'm talking about. I think there's a difference between being a professional and being a professional when it comes to your work. The dynamic is like a solid, straightforward approach towards what you're doing. It's not really work centric. It's centered around you being unoffensive to people. So effectively, everyone who wants to succeed in and rank up in their work or kind of like dive somewhere has one of two choices. He becomes good enough to be able to work with people and ultimately like just work people. And on the other side, he has to be good enough so his work uh, basically he either markets himself to people, which is the professional that I'm talking about here, or his work markets him because the work does the talking on its own. Like your value is in the work that you do, or you kind of like have that ability to market yourself in a form of value. And I think that's what I'm pointing towards specifically when it comes to psychopaths in training, because ultimately there are handling other people and there's handling yourself. And all the trainings that you go through are always kind of pointing, specifically when they're coming for like self improvement and work and how you kind of like get better at doing things differently, or just when you're notice you're at a plateau. The next stage of the plateau, one of the first things you'd want to learn is how to handle how you're standing in your own way, how your emotions are taking you differently. And slow and steady, we feel that we're kind of like neglecting that side of us. We feel like what we're doing, again, we is me and myself, uh, we feel like what we're doing is we're making decisions instead of kind of like responding to our emotions. What we're doing is we're dismissing them. But the weight of trying not to be emotional in order to exist in society, or the weight of trying to be not to show your emotions and stuff like this, maybe kill your empathy and in a way make you more manipulative because you're you're just you become one-sided when it comes to be having a goal, and effectively what you're doing is you're just looking at everyone around you that's dressed in that suit and or whatever clothes they're dressed in, and ultimately faking it till they making it, or just like creating that pretense until they catch up to that pretense, and what parts of themselves they have to give up in order to get there. Most of the time, you reach a point where you see like an empty shell that's so hard for you to get anything out of, especially when it comes to like the people you're trying to interact with. And your best option is just to give them what they want, and you're not giving them what you have, you're giving them what they want, which is dismissing who you are and in a way kind of like manipulating the outcome by making them feel more at ease with you. And that's how I view professionalism these days, specifically with all the, I wouldn't want to say fakeness, but like I think I used the word pretense because a lot of us are not able to digest advice in a way that relates to us. And what we do is we just take what we get from advice or from books that we read, and we try our best to incorporate what we were able to understand. And unless we're giving ourselves the chance to be wrong about our own intentional evolution, most of the time we find ourselves completely detached from who we are and what we started with. And I think that's what psychopaths are. It's just like completely people that don't really understand the emptiness that's inside. It's a video. My bad. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that psychopaths are negative or positive. I think all of us have different levels of emotions. But hey, here we are, emotionless beings. Video!